What is going on, everybody? How are we all doing? And welcome back today to another City Talk Rivals. Today we have got along with us Mr. KB, a man that has been on the channel several times, so I'm sure you'll recognise him. How are you keeping, KB? You well?
I think you should call me the FIFA bullshit king.
Oh my god,
is that how that goes?
Completely forgot. I'd almost forgotten about that. Genuinely, I'd almost forgotten. But of course, KB is here, which can only mean one thing, and that is that today we're going to be talking about Arsenal. Probably one of the most. There's so much to cover as far as Arsenal's concerned when we're talking about last season. Sanchez, Lacazette that they brought in. It's going to be interesting. But how are you feeling about this, KB? I suppose actually, normally I'll kick this off by asking what your thoughts on last season were, but the first question I'm going to ask you from last season technically, but I don't know if this is even still a thing, is are you Wenger in or Wenger out? I suppose that's a good way to kick this off.
Oh, God, I'm cracking open a cold one, hang on.
Yeah, I think you'll need to.
I can't do this without a beer. Right.
This could be a painful talk for you.
Wenger should leave on his own volition at the end of his contract and not be sacked. Giving him 2 extra years, I wasn't on board with it. I'm not going to lie. But, is it still a thing now that he signed a new contract? Is that even still like a thing, the whole Wenger in, Wenger out? Like I saw at the Man City, one of the Man City pre-season games, it wasn't Man City versus Arsenal. There was someone in the crowd randomly with a Wenger out sign, which I was absolutely wet. I think did you saw it on Twitter, didn't you? Because I think you commented on it. I was wetting myself. I was like, as if it was like it's some random Man City versus God knows what game, and there was just a Wenger out banner in the crowd. It did make me laugh. I thought it was all over, but apparently not. I can only say that I saw it at WrestleMania. Like I was watching WrestleMania live and an Arsene Wenger out sign.
That's amazing.
Like, no, this has to stop. Like, we know he's there for the next 2 years. He's not going anywhere. We've done our protest. They didn't listen. Let's just be behind the team for the next 2 years. And I do not approve of the managerial decision, but I sure as hell am going to try and support the team through it.
Yeah, I think that's what you can do. So I suppose leading on from that, what did you think of last season then? Because obviously you didn't get top 4, which is something that you'd historically done so consistently, hadn't you? So it was not the best season, obviously, for you, but
we didn't retain our trophy. We didn't retain the trophy. I mean, the problem is, like, around about February, we just completely lost all confidence whatsoever. I mean, we suddenly got Giroud back, and then, despite the fact that Sanchez had been scoring for fun in a centre-forward position, we then moved him back out to the left.
Yeah.
And then Giroud came in, and anyone who's watched any of my videos knows that I think Giroud is an absolute donkey.
Yeah,
so I don't understand why you would pick him up front over Sanchez, and you had so many great options in wing, and it was just wasted. Like Iwobi ended up being a background player.
I think it's always quite interesting when I'm talking like in these videos to other people, because no one knows your own club like yourself. Obviously, like my Arsenal knowledge is not going to be anywhere near yours. But the one thing that I did see people saying, which I did think myself that was quite strange, was about, obviously Giroud isn't the greatest. I think most people agree to that. Despite the fact that he's the Scorpion King, he's not a Premier League winning striker. And one of the people that you bought in last season was Lucas Perez. Now, I also don't think he's a Premier League winning striker, but whenever I saw him play, he looked alright. He didn't look bad, and he just didn't seem to get a chance ever, which I thought was quite strange.
He is lethal! The man can score a jumping volley. All of our great players have scored jumping volleys. That skunk-headed prick scored 2.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's difficult because, like you were saying, just like Sanchez was up front, and you think to yourself, well, maybe the reason he's playing him up front is because he didn't have another striking option, and so he felt the need to play him there. And then when Giroud came back, he put him there. But I just don't understand why he never tried. Because I mean, again, I don't know this for a fact, but I don't ever recall seeing like a Sanchez on the out wide and Perez up top. It just seemed like Perez was coming in for like bit part games. Like I can't remember who he played.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
he played like a minnow team in the FA Cup, didn't you? And I remember he played in that game, and I was like, I don't know. It was just strange to me. He seemed all right, and he just didn't seem to get a chance. And now he's linked to being sold, I think, isn't he? I think.
Yeah, he handed in a transfer request this morning.
Oh, did he? Wow, I did not know that. So on the pulse there, accidentally.
He played 1 Champions League game, scored a hat-trick. He scored against Bournemouth in that great big comeback where Giroud then spent a minute celebrating. instead of actually trying to win the fucking game.
I remember that, yeah.
I have no earthly reason why. I mean, I thought Perez was pretty good, but clearly the boss didn't agree with me.
Yeah, looking on the brighter side of that, they have brought in Lacazette, and I think it's about time in it, really. He's been linked for God knows how many years. You've needed a striker for God knows how many years. Finally, you got in Lacazette, who I think most people are excited for. Personally, I still think he's got to really prove himself, because I think League One to Premier League, completely different kettle of fish, but he does come with like a reputation of being a great player, and that obviously doesn't come out of nowhere. So I imagine you're quite excited to get him in the team, aren't you? Looking forward to seeing him.
Well, yeah, I bought him first thing in my career mode, didn't I? So, first thing I did. Actually, yeah. If we sign Mahrez as well, I am actually Mystic Meg. But
yeah,
I watched Lacazette play in the Emirates Cup. The game we had against Sevilla, that we lost 2-1, and everyone said that Danny Welbeck played really well in that game, but Danny Welbeck just basically ran onto everything and then shot selfishly because he wanted to try and prove he deserved to be in the squad. Whereas Lacazette's movement is very Henry-esque. He stays back. He's very lazy if you watch him for a whole game, but he chooses his moments brilliantly. Like the bits where he arrives at the back post, something like that, you know he's in the right place to score. So I can see that if he gets a couple in the first few matches, he's going to build on it. But otherwise, it may take just setting him up, giving him those opportunities, because otherwise he's just not going to get anywhere. He's like 5 foot nothing.
I think he's probably going to get the chances. The way Arsenal play, obviously traditionally attacking, keep the ball quite well. He's going to get chances. So if he's got anything about him, I expect him to do really well. And you were talking about him being like, I'm doing an air quote here, lazy. I think that's just what most strikers are like. I mean, watching Aguero every week, he's exactly the same. And it's that, like you were saying just about Welbeck, busting a gut and getting on the end of everything. There's a difference between making one exceptional run and scoring, between someone that's going to just run like a yo-yo, back up, and get absolutely nowhere. Because Aguero's the same. If you watch him in an entire game, he doesn't move around a lot. He tends to just linger and then move at the right time, usually. And that's, if you're doing that, you're doing something right, aren't you, obviously? And if Lacazette's got that about him, it's going to be... Because to me, and I think you'd probably agree with most people, a striker is what you've been lacking for years. You've needed, as soon as Van Persie went, that's probably what I'd go back to. Since you lost Van Persie, I don't think you've ever had a striker since then, unless I'm forgetting someone that's come in between. No, we haven't
really had a great striker. I mean, I loved Podolski. I thought he was a great finisher, but Wenger didn't like him. But going on from that, we've always had one season where one player is so much better than everyone else, and they become the star of the team, and then they get courted, and then they bugger off. It's been nice, actually. It's been like a closed season of karma, because we bought a player for good money, and then Chelsea could hardly buy anyone. It was amazing.
I think when you're looking at what other people are going for as well, Lacazette seems... What did you pay for him? 40? 45?
Looks like 45 raising to 52.
Yeah, like when you consider we've paid 50 for Walker, 50 for Mendy, it's Lukaku was going on to 100 apparently. It's,
From an Arsenal fan to a Manchester City fan, please stop buying Monaco players. It makes it really fucking difficult.
Yeah, I think the only one left now is Neymar and Mbappe, and Mbappe, the money that's been spoken about for him is utterly ridiculous. So I don't think you're going to be going near him. But Neymar, you're linked with, I think, aren't you, a little bit?
We're linked with him. This morning I read that Sanchez, or Monaco, want to offer 45 million for Sanchez, and then that will free up that we can buy Neymar. And for a year of Sanchez, I would take 45 million in Neymar instead.
I was just about to say, what are your thoughts on the whole Sanchez thing? Because for people that don't know, and I mean, I don't know who out there doesn't know, but the situation is basically he's got a year left on his contract. Arsenal at this point can either unless he's still in January, obviously, you can either keep hold of him and accept that he's probably going to go on a free, but get a good season out of him, because he's the kind of player. I don't think he's going to sulk about it. I think if he stays, he'll put a shift in, especially with it being a World Cup here. But saying that, Sanchez is always going to get in the Chile team, isn't he? Obviously, but he can either keep him and let him go for a free, or take money. And obviously, City were linked to him. Apparently, he wants to play under Guardiola. I don't think you'll sell him to us just because you've sold so many players to us over the years, haven't you? Since we got taken over, and it's never gone down well. So I think if you do sell him, he's probably going to go abroad. I agree with you from what you were saying. Just I think you've got to take the money myself.
I would happily take the money so long as he went abroad. There's two ways of looking at this. I do not want to sell him to Man City just because he's turned down. It feels like he's turned down Bayern Munich. He's turned down PSG because he's making Mooney eyes at Manchester City. And I don't want to give Man City automatically what they want. I'm sorry. And I know that you guys might have a transfer embargo next year. Is that true?
Know. Who knows?
I've heard rumblings. I've heard rumblings. But if that's the case, then all we're doing is simply giving him to Chelsea instead, because he'll still stay in London.
Yeah.
So I think it's the devil you know and the devil you don't. I don't know which one we want to hand the title to when. It's just if he doesn't want to leave England, and we can't sell him to an abroad option that he finds attractive and can pay him, then we are screwed. I would rather keep him for a year and make sure we get Champions League football than sell him now if it means that he has to go to a domestic rival.
Yeah. I agree, because if the shoe was on the other foot and say like Arsenal were after Aguero or someone like that, I'd be like, stuff him. No, you're not having him. You don't want to see your best players leave to your rival clubs, obviously. But throwing a scenario out there, if you did sell him to City, or just any Premier League team, just say he went in general, but City or Premier League rivals a bigger question, because I think, for example, if you went to Bayern Munich, you'd probably sell him for 40-45 million. If you go to a Premier League team, you're probably talking 60-70 million just because of the extra money for going to a rival. If you did go, who would you try and bring in as a replacement? Do you think you can replace him? Is there a player out there that you'd have in mind? Or
I would honestly, I would buy Lamar anyway, just because he can play across the front. He can play across from left to right. He's great. Yeah. But I would probably also get in Mahrez just to have a straight winger. Then you have two options for the price of one. Mahrez clearly wants to play for us. Yeah, we are undecided on Mahrez, but if it means, I would rather sell Sanchez and get Mahrez and Lamar now, because that's two players, and we're always like two muscle injuries away from Diaby Central. So
I think Mahrez is quite an interesting one, isn't it? Because he had that fantastic season when they won the league, obviously, but last season didn't particularly set the world alight. But some people say it's because he didn't want to be there. I know you were interested in him that year, weren't you? The year that they won the league, but they managed to hold on to him. And I think maybe it'll be a blessing in disguise, because I think if you bought him that season, you were probably looking at like a £50 million player, whereas now I think you could probably get him for a lot less than you could have done before, because it's another year off his contract, and I just don't think he was as good last season, obviously, was he, for Leicester? So that could prove to be a blessing in disguise, really, I think.
Yeah, it all depends on whether there's other interest. I mean, obviously Roma want him. I think Spurs want him. So Spurs may try and drive it up, and you know what they're like.
Spurs are signing nobody, aren't they? It's crazy.
They sell one player, they try and buy 17. That's what they do.
I think the other thing with Sanchez, which could now become a thing, is a lot of people have said maybe he'll go to Barcelona, but we'll talk about Neymar in a second, because although that's not relevant to Arsenal or City, it's just such a massive thing right now. It's got to be spoken about.
Yeah,
a few people have said that maybe that void that he's left behind. Coutinho's linked very strongly. Dybala's linked quite strongly, but then everyone's saying now, well, why wouldn't they just get Sanchez back? And would he go back? Why did he leave in the first place? Is it just because he wasn't getting the football? Did he have a falling out? I mean, I don't know.
I think he was happy there until Neymar joined, because he was a left winger, and he was a left winger for that team. I mean, he hasn't really exploded. I mean, I read in the papers today a very good point about why Neymar might leave for PSG, and it was because he was playing essentially the wide man to Messi, whereas Messi can cut inside and cause all this damage. Neymar basically had to stick to the wing and sort of do his job and be very structurally able, whereas that's not what suits either player. So if Sanchez was there, I expect he did the same thing, which is probably why he wanted to move. It all depends on whether the new coach is happy to let both players cut inside at will. If they do, they're going to have to basically score more than the other team at any given moment, because they will just be more or less horrendous on the terms of width, because they don't have a right back either.
So they're not. Well, I didn't know that. I think to be honest, if you're an attacker and you're going to Barcelona, you've got to be fully aware that team is built around Messi from the ground up, isn't it, essentially? So you're basically going to be on the factory line feeding him the chances 9 times out of 10. And even Suarez, who's been fantastic there, I think if Messi wasn't there, he'd probably get a lot more goals, because a lot of the time he's feeding Messi, despite the fact he's also a striker, essentially. So I agree. I completely agree with what you just said. But obviously today the Neymar deal has been done. The figures have been released, haven't they? It's something like a £450 million deal in total, £200 million buyout clause, more than doubled the previous record deal, which was of course Pogba from last year. I think
the only player in the world that can make Pogba look like good money.
Yeah, that is a.
I have been on a crusade for a year saying Pogba is not worth £90 million, and then this happens.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I think I saw as well that on after tax he's going to be on £515,000
after tax
a week. Yeah, he's on 750 before tax, I believe, 750k a week. It is absolutely outrageous, and just sort of linking this back into Arsenal here, as if I've planned this well. Wenger did actually say when the Pogba deal happened that it would only be a matter of time before we saw a £200 million transfer. I don't think he thought it'd be quite this soon, but. I was talking to I can't remember if it was the last one I did with Niran or if it was with Sive with the United one. I think there becomes a certain point in football now where, because I think it was with Sive, because I was talking about Kyle Walker, where you just have to, as a fan, just forget you paid 50 million. It's not your money. If he does well, it doesn't matter. But when it's 200 million, it's hard to get over that amount of money. Do you think this is an incredibly broad question about football now? So good luck answering this. But where do you think it will end? This whole, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Surely it can't keep on going. It's ridiculous.
So bringing it back to Arsenal, first off, Arsene Wenger has an opinion about everything, so long as it's not his club or his money.
Yeah.
We have paid 50 million for the first time in our history. He is a record. Lacazette is a record buy. So what this tells you, if this tells you anything, it's that Arsenal are normally under the market rate, so for good players in future, I think 60 million will be the norm next year.
Yeah.
And you're getting 90 million strikers twice in the season in Lukaku and Morata, who are...
Yeah.
One's got the first touch of a curb, and the other one hasn't been particularly prolific. So
no, I agree, yeah. I think both have still got a lot to prove.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, either... Wenger said after the Sevilla loss, which somehow we won a tournament. I don't want to go into that; it was horrendous. But he said that things like Sanchez and Ozil winding down their contracts to move is going to happen more often.
Yeah, and I saw this interview because he said it was an ideal situation, didn't he?
It's not an ideal situation whatsoever, but I do think it's going to happen more often. It's one of two ways: either people are going to spend ridiculous amounts of money, and then the bottom will fall out of all clubs, or clubs will wise up to it, no longer pay it, and people who want to move will have to run down their contracts.
Yeah. I think I kind of agree with you there, because I put a poll on Twitter the other day when Neymar was like closing in on this move, and I said, how long do you think he's going to stay at PSG? And I was saying like 1 or 2 years, 3 or 4, the rest of his career, 5, 6, whatever. And most people seem to think it's only going to be a short-term stay, like 1 or 2 years from that poll. But you've got to think, if someone's buying him, they're going to have to imagine match what PSG have paid and match the wages, and there's not many teams in world football that can do that. It's a handful of clubs, isn't it? And it's utterly ridiculous. And someone said the other day in response to that, actually, that apparently Ronaldo's got a £1 billion buyout clause. I don't know if that's true. That's just something I read on Twitter. And
I heard it was 800.
Here's a question: in 5 years' time, do you think someone will have been bought for more than 200 million? Just yes or no?
Yes.
Wow, so it's crazy to think, isn't it? But I agree with you. I agree with you, and it's ridiculous.
We're only 2 million off.
Yeah,
it goes without saying that there will be a player that is sold for 200 million. I don't know who. It's
outrageous.
There's like a list of players that could be that big, but normally there'll be 1 or 2 people from South America that we've never heard of. Yeah, they need time to come up. Probably Jesus may be one of those players. Like Jesus is a great player.
I hope so.
The only reason that Man City would sell him, is if Man City didn't want him.
Yeah,
so I don't see that happening. But the days of finding a gem these days,
it's difficult.
Yeah, basically the French league has been mined. There is nothing left. That was the last great thing. Like Aubameyang, you had a few players like I think Kondogbia appeared suddenly out of nowhere.
Martial, I was trying to think, I'm sure there's another one, Martial. I think they paid a lot of money for Martial, but he was another one that, looking at it now, wasn't a bad price, I suppose.
Not a bad price for a left winger who scores 10 goals a season.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous. But we'll go back to Arsenal a little bit now. And a question I was going to ask you, which it's fitting for the Arsenal and City, really, because we've mentioned it before. We've taken a lot of your players, obviously, since we got taken over. And this is not just talking about the players that we've taken off you, but if you could have kept one player that you lost over the last 10 years, who do you think it would be? I mean, again, you'll know more of these players than I will, but I know obviously we've got Henry's in that mix because you lost him to Barcelona. There's a few that went to City. Van Persie obviously going to United. So there's a long list to choose from. I'll say that much. Did you lose Bergkamp? Where did he go after you?
No, Bergkamp retired. Bergkamp
I was going to say, I thought he did. Yeah,
his testimonial.
I know you love Bergkamp, don't you?
Oh, Bergkamp is God.
Yeah.
If Ian Wright is the king and Tony Adams is the captain, Bergkamp is the God. So there are a lot of players that I wish hadn't left. Like I don't wish the Skunk had left because we possibly would have had a chance at still keeping, like, at least making sure we got top 4 every season. It wouldn't have been so difficult and we wouldn't have looked quite so shit. I really wish we kept Cesc, but Cesc, you could tell in the last season that he was down.
To cut you up, I'm going to cut you up slightly here before you carry on. Didn't Fabregas, he went to Barcelona, didn't he? And didn't he want to come back and Wenger didn't want him, which to me was outrageous. Was that a thing?
That is correct. Basically, he said we have...
Outrageous. Outrageous decision.
It's understandable at the time. Like, we had two attacking midfielders. We only had one space. And we didn't need a third. We had Ozil, we had Cazorla, we had Fabregas. Now, looking at it in hindsight, Fabregas has moved back and he's more of a deep playmaker now. Yeah. And so is Cazorla. So we could have had someone covering for that injury crisis. I loved Fabregas. I think he was amazing. I thought that Nasri was good for that one season. Kleb was great. Flamini leaving for AC Milan when he said he agreed a contract. That was horrible. Ashley Cole starting the Exodus. That was awful. But the one I wish had never left was Patrick Vieira.
Patrick Vieira. Where did he go after you?
He went to Juventus.
Oh, Juventus. I thought it was in Italy. Yeah, he
moved to Inter after. Well, he came to us from AC.
He played for us. He played for City towards the end of his career, and he did a job. I'll tell you now, he was very, very solid, and that was right in the twilight of his career.
Why we didn't sign him, I'd have no idea.
And he's now. He now works for New York City, and he worked for Man City before. And it always baffled me that he never went back to Arsenal as a coach in some capacity, because he's obviously a bloke that's got a lot of knowledge and experience. So. Well, when we sort of signed him on again, I thought that was a bit of a coup myself, because I really thought he'd end up going back to Arsenal. I really did.
Of all the people I wish had been a coach at Arsenal, I wish we'd have got Patrick Vieira, because he's got the mentality win. I mean, we now have the crazy German as a coach.
Who's that?
In Jens Lehmann.
Jens
Lehmann is now a first-team coach. That's one of our big signings of the summer.
Christ.
I mean, I would have got Dennis Bergkamp before he went to Ajax to do coaching. I would have got him just like shooting coach or attacking coach, and he could have stayed home and not flown anywhere. Just people like Steve Bold should have been in charge of the defence. He's clearly not, because we haven't been that solid at the back.
Yeah, I remember that being spoken about when you were a bit shaky at the back. How he'd made a big difference before. Yeah.
There's a whole lot to change, and people don't really want to rock the boat, so Wenger has a bit of autonomy.
The one thing I'll say about City, like, we were just talking about all those players you'd let go. Since we've been taken over, we've got an incredible record of holding on to people. We only, like you were saying, we only seem to sell if we want to sell, and then we seem to get people on at the end of their career and keep them on as coaches, which I think is something that's really, really good. Like Vieira, like, my mind's gone blank now about other people that have done it, but we've had a few that have stayed on as coaches. I think. Oh, flipping heck, who else is there? I don't even know, but there's a handful that we've signed on. Mikel Arteta, another Arsenal one. He's a coach with us now. There's another one as well.
I mean, he worked with. I think he played under or played alongside Pep when he was in he was in the Barcelona like C team or something.
I was going to say, I think it's like a Spanish link going on there between the two more than anything. I think, to be honest.
I mean, I personally would have kept Arteta, but I think he is more mentally fragile than, say, a Vieira. He's more artistic in the way that he passes. He's got a very good flow about his passes, but he's just not as good as a Vieira.
I don't really remember him at all so much. I always remember him being in his prime at Everton. I don't know if he ever did. Did he do amazing for you when because he went from Everton to you, didn't he? It wasn't the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, he got injured a lot. If his talent was getting injured, he did it fantastically.
Yeah, that's it's never ideal. It's never ideal. The one question that I've been asking everybody it's going to be interesting with Arsenal again, because first question, I suppose, what would you say your weakest area is in the Arsenal starting 11? Like, if you could improve one position, what would it be?
CDM.
CDM. So the question I've been asking is, if you could take one player from Man City and put him into Arsenal, who would it be? And then I've been saying, like, if I could take one person from your team and put him in City, who would it be? So I'll give you a second to think about it. From Arsenal, obviously Sanchez is linked a lot, but he's not a player that I think we particularly need massively. Like, we've got such an incredible attack already. Like, I wouldn't turn him down, don't get me wrong, and I do think with us, so Ike Nacho has left today or yesterday, so we do need another striker without doubt. So maybe Sanchez will be the player I go with after all. But typically, I've been saying centre-back and Koscielny I think is fantastic. Get my words out, fantastic. And I think Mustafi's also quite underrated as well. I do quite like Mustafi.
Oh, I love Mustafi. I think he's brilliant.
I'll be quite torn between Koscielny and Sanchez, but just for the glamour side, I think I'd still go Sanchez, to be honest. So I do think we need another striker. We've only got right now Jesus and Aguero, and if we end up going two up top at any point, then that's all that we have. So I think I'd go Sanchez. But who would you take from City?
Honestly, despite the fact I say CDM, I would move upwards. I would happily take one of your wingers or your strikers.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
Aguero would be amazing. I mean, I love Fernando and Fernandinho, but they're very quiet members of the team.
Fernando's gone, or is in the process of going. Fernando is going to Portugal, I believe. Somewhere I saw in Portugal, I think it was. I don't know if that's been completed yet, but it's meant to be pretty much done. Yeah.
Fernandinho has that sort of Gilberto Silva-esque vibe about him. Like, he keeps quiet. He does his job.
Yeah, very much so.
I think we could do with that. So maybe him in place of a Coquelin, if I was going to go for that. But yeah, if it was just straight out playing the Arsenal way, going for goals, it would be Jesus or Aguero. Just go flat out. Then again, Sterling. Oh, Sterling is Sterling's fast. We've already got one really fast right winger who doesn't score much.
It's interesting because everyone I spoke to on this has picked a different player. I think if you're saying Aguero has been picked at this point.
No,
as well,
I'm going to stick with Fernandinho. I'm going to stick there.
Interestingly, Fernandinho has also already been picked as well. He was picked by Sai for United because he said they also needed a holding midfielder. This was before the time Matic, obviously, so now they've got Matic, so I don't think you'd say that now. But yeah, everyone pretty much had picked a different player, which is crazy. And I think it's interesting because it's either do you go for something that's fixing your weakest area, even though that's not the other team's strongest, or do you just take someone that's obviously like phenomenal, like an Aguero or like a De Bruyne or someone like that?
Oh, like De Bruyne! How did I not think of De Bruyne?
Oh, I thought you might say De Bruyne because I think he fits the Arsenal way with his passing ability and the way he plays.
Thing is, do you need another De Bruyne where his head drops as soon as like 3 goals go past him, as inevitably we will in 20 minutes against Chelsea?
De Bruyne, he's very much a luxury player, but at the same time, he's one of those that I think he's amazing, but also frustrating to watch sometimes because he'll seem like he does nothing in a game, but he'll still come out of that game with an assist or two, and it's like,
trust me, as an Arsenal fan, I'm probably the one person who will be able to sympathise with you because Ozil is horrible from time to time, but when he puts something, when he does a pass or just a little flick. It's just absolute quality.
I wouldn't say that De Bruyne's the same level as laziness as Ozil. I think Ozil's right down the laziness scale. I feel like he's incredibly lazy. But you just think that if he could just put more of a shift in, he'd be that next level player. But that's obviously just not the way he plays. I think like he goes missing, doesn't he, Ozil? But at the same time, you know he's got it in him. You know he's got that quality about him at the same time. So it's very, very frustrating.
It's difficult.
If I'm watching.
I think this season will be the making of Ozil.
How old is he? Quick question.
He's 28, 27,
so should be prime then. Should be coming into prime years then.
I mean, he's so good. He is very good. But the fact is that his whole game is based upon putting passes through for someone to run onto. And when you've had Giroud to dine on, it's like eating rancid hamburger. And finally, we have a striker who is fast, doesn't get injured all the time, and has good composure.
Yeah, you're
so
right.
hopefully
it'll
be dining on steak, and you might be able. You might see us playing more on the counter attack, more than usual, because we normally when we play big teams we go on the counter attack. We sort of hold it all back, and then we try and blitz you. But if we play against smaller teams, we don't do that. But hopefully you'll find us more
or just breaking from the halfway line, and then Ozil just put it on a plate.
How do you think you're going to set up next year? Do you think it's going to be much of the same, where you got the one up top and then Ozil behind in sort of like a free roam kind of thing?
Yeah,
is that what you usually do?
It's what, a 3-4-2-1 officially?
Yeah, I think most
3-4-3.
Yeah, I think that's quite a popular. Well, other than last season where the 3 at the back came into fashion a bit, and I know you have played that a little bit in pre-season. I think.
I think that's how we're going to go. To be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting actually, because I think you're in a similar position to City in the fact that you've got loads of quality players in that same central midfield area on paper, and it's like, how do you get them all into the same team? And I think if you obviously play a 3 at the back, sacrifice a bit of defence, you can obviously get that extra man in there, because on paper you've got some very, very strong central midfielders. Some of them get injured a lot, like Ramsey. I think Ramsey, on his day, he's fantastic, but he's injured a lot. Cazorla, fantastic on his day, but he's also quite injury prone. Then you've obviously got Ozil. Who else have you got in central mid? There's a few, isn't there? There's
so there's Ramsey, there's Coquelin, there's El Nene, Wilshere, Cazorla when he's fit.
Wilshere come back, has he? Is he
Wilshere is currently training. I don't know if he's able to actually play, because Harry Kane, being the typical spud that he is, decided to kick the shit out of him.
Here's a question. What would Wilshere go for if you sold him, do you think? Because obviously transfer fees are ridiculous. He's a player with a hell of a lot of ability, but at the same time he's very injury prone, and it'd be typical. Like if you I'll throw this back to the Van Persie when you sold him. Obviously you sold him as an injury prone striker, and somehow he went to United, got a full season out of him, didn't they? Without him seemingly getting injured at all. So the transfer fee then looked like an absolute snip. But how much do you reckon he'd go for, Wilshere, if he was to go?
Well, we tried that. We tried sending him away for a year and seeing how he did.
Yeah, that is very true.
Like we sent him to Bournemouth and he got his leg broken. So he is an injury-prone player, and unlike a lot of the deadwood that we have, that's overpaid, Wilshere is or was a great prospect when we gave him that contract. Yeah. So I would say probably, I don't know. I think 12, 13 million would probably be well enough. He's only got a year left on his contract.
Oh, has he as well? Right. Okay.
Yeah, so he's got 1 year left on his contract. I mean, I think someone offered 9 million for him and we turned it down. But 13 should convince us to sell.
It's the kind of thing, isn't it, where if someone picks him up for 15 million and they somehow miraculously get a season out of him where he doesn't get injured, it's an absolute steal. But the likelihood is he probably is going to get injured, because that's just the kind of player he is, isn't it, unfortunately?
Yeah. He's lost a yard of pace. Yeah, I was at the game where he injured himself that first time, where I think he hurt his heel or his ankle or something, and he hasn't been the same since.
It's just, I don't know. It's just you feel sorry for him a bit. No, not feel sorry. That's the wrong word, because he's still being paid and all that stuff, as people will say. But he's not been able to live up to it because of injuries, and that's always a shame. Like company the last couple of years has been exactly the same. He just can't stay fit for tough. It's so frustrating to watch him on the sidelines when you know that they've got the talent. Because I think a fit Wilshere, if he was playing regularly, would probably get into your midfield. Because I think if he was fit, I'd put him above Coquelin, personally. I don't massively rate Coquelin.
Coquelin's a walking yellow card machine.
Yeah, very much so. Very, very much so. I don't particularly rate him. So if he was fit, he would get in, but it's just ifs and buts, isn't it? Because obviously he doesn't stay fit, so it's never going to happen, unfortunately. But you might have already answered this, but I was going to ask you who your favourite Arsenal player was to watch, but would it just be Bergkamp? Because you're saying he's like your favourite player. Would you say he's the best player you've seen in an Arsenal shirt since you've been following him? Because again,
he's the best player I've ever seen in an Arsenal shirt. Yeah, I mean, Henry was phenomenal. Thing is, when you ask something like a Tottenham fan, they'd be like, Klinsmann. That's about it, and probably Bale. But Arsenal had way too many people to sort of narrow it down. I watched Ian Wright score, Paul Merson, Tony Adams. Watching him marshal the defence was just bonkers. The way that he held it together, he is so organised. I would say Bergkamp just for sheer enjoyment, but that when you watch the whole, I watched. I saw Emmanuel Petit score a 35-yarder against Derby in '98 when I was just a kid, and just watching that team come together and go absolutely ham on
team, wasn't it? Yeah,
on an opposition.
Obviously, he wasn't far off, but 2002 was obviously your prime team, wasn't it? When you had him, Vieira, Henry, and it was quite funny actually, because obviously KB and myself obviously do a lot of FIFA stuff. Were you among the people reacting when you saw Henry's card today before it had been announced?
Left winger,
everyone was getting absolutely mad, weren't they? It was so funny that was to see. Like, that Prime card is going to be ridiculous, but I think it's only out for a limited time, isn't it? I think they said the Prime card, so good luck getting that. Good luck. Do you think you'll get him? Do you think you're about to get him, that Henry?
I don't know if I can afford him.
This is a ridiculous question, obviously, because we don't know how much they're going to cost, but...
I don't know if I can afford him, mate. I don't know if I can afford that much. Be,
like, they showed... briefly touch upon this very, very briefly. They showed the Ronaldo one where they were doing the Prime one, and it was like you had to trade in an icon to get him as well. It was like, that was just for the 1 out of the 4 things as well. I was like, oh my god, that is going to be expensive to do, but rightfully so. I think they are in packs as well. I think the way they've said they're doing it is they're going to release the Prime ones like on 1 by 1. Like I think they called them Throwback Thursdays or something. Where it's going to be one every few Thursdays. But I think there's going to be an SBC where you can unlock them, and they're going to be in packs for that time as well. So very briefly, and then the other 2 versions are going to be in packs at all times as well. So some of those cards are going to be absolutely, absolutely filthy. But going back to the normal questions that I've been asking people, if you could bring anyone into the Arsenal team, anyone right now in world football, like you could have anybody, they're always going to join you. Who would you pick? Would it be like a Messi or Ronaldo, or would it be someone to fill in that CDM void that you think you need filling?
Anyone in the world at all?
Yeah, they'll come. Don't have to worry about it. You just say, like, Ronaldo, he's in the Arsenal team now. Just say that he's in.
That opens up a whole load of possibilities.
But again, it's the thing, isn't it, where you can either go for someone that's just incredible, or you can try and fill your weakest area, which is arguably not up front, which is where.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to work out right now. Matuidi.
Matuidi, isn't he meant to be leaving anyway? Isn't he linked to leaving?
I hear he's meant to be leaving PSG next year. Yeah, at least.
Blimey,
he's only got 1 year left. I mean, he is a tank.
He's French, so with Wenger, you got half a chance.
Exactly.
That's all you seem to soil, isn't it? You know,
I just did the shrug. I literally just did the shrug on camera. I just went. But, yeah, why not? He's French.
I've not seen him play that often, to be honest. Like that France team right now, and another question I've been asking people that I wasn't initially asking, but people in the comments seem to want to know, talking about France, because they're the team I always say is, who do you think is going to win the World Cup? When that comes around, obviously that's the end of this season, there's a long way to go yet, but I think France are a team that looks incredibly exciting. Obviously you've got Griezmann, Pogba, Dembele, incredible goalkeeper in Lloris, you've got great defence as well, but is there a team that you'd fancy in the World Cup? Obviously it's so early to say yet.
It's horrible. If the world was ideal and people's potential panned out over a season, it should be Belgium. It should.
Yeah, definitely. Someone else said that as well. Someone said the exact same thing, yeah.
Because Hazard should be. You've got Courtois, Lukaku, Nainggolan, De Bruyne, all of it. It's too good.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. That actually reminded me a little bit of when England had the golden generation, where they seem to have all these incredible players, but they just don't seem to play that well together. I don't know what it is. When I saw them in the Euros, I thought, God, because I was excited to watch them because, like you said, they got Courtois in goal, which is fantastic. In defence, at the time, Kompany was fit and he was playing. Was he? He might have been out. I can't remember now. But like you said, they've just got an incredible team, but they just didn't seem to play well together. It just for one reason or another. It's crazy.
I'm not going to look past the Mannschaft. I'm going to say it's still Germany. I think they're still the best team because they're just so good. They're so well marshalled.
Did you watch any of the Confed Cup earlier in just after the season finished?
I did, and whilst I really enjoyed the fact that Mustafi gave the ball away to Sanchez for a goal, that was both typical Arsenal attacking and defending all in one 10-second clip. Yeah, I still think that whilst Chile were very good at entertaining, Germany are solid.
Yeah, and that was solid. That was like a third string team, wasn't it? And it's ridiculous.
Yeah, there was no Ozil, there was no Royce,
there was
loads.
It wasn't like there were second choice players that didn't get in. It was ridiculous. Like people like Goretzka, who lit the tournament up. He was like one of the better players in the tournament. Who, like, if Germany are picking their strongest 11, doesn't get anywhere near the team. Probably it's ridiculous, really, to think. And in goal, obviously, they normally have Neuer, and then they were rotating between I think it was Leno and Ter Stegen, and you think, God, either of them would walk into the England team, I would imagine. Any day of the week. It really is absolutely ridiculous to think, really. But the question, again, I normally ask this right at the start, but I'm going to ask it now. Where do you think you're going to come next season? Because I think you're in an interesting... In fact, we'll turn this into 2 questions. My first question to lead on to, do you think you'll take the Europa League seriously, or do you think you're going to use it as like a youth player exercise? It's going to be interesting.
It's been interesting because Mourinho's shown the way to get Champions League qualification without it, which is interesting. I don't think we're going to take it as seriously as we normally do for the Champions League. Like, we're not going to go out in the first We're not going to just try and concede 7 goals in the first leg and then try and miss it by 1 goal. Yeah. We did beat them in pre-season.
Yeah, it's hold on to that one, KB. Hold on to
that one. Yeah. No, I think that we probably won't take it as seriously as we have with the Champions League.
Because, like I said, the merits of both have been showed. Obviously, United last season didn't come in top 4, but they took it seriously, won it to get their Champions League qualification. But then at the same time, the year before that, your favourite team, Tottenham, didn't take it particularly seriously. Blooded a lot of young players, and that's what brought Kane out, wasn't it, really? That was Kane's emergence onto the scene. So, you know, someone like that plays for Arsenal.
Well, if you do that, then we have a lot of talented youngsters who could do the first experience, playing European minnows, then just go for it. Go absolutely ham. I mean, we got players like Reece Nelson, Jeff Rennie Adelaide. Just the mind boggles at the thought of the players that we could play in a second string. Like you could play Danny Welbeck in the first team regularly, and he might actually try and prove his fitness, and then you'd have players who were fit for Sunday.
The player that really impressed me for you last season, and it depends if you're playing 3 at the back or 2 at the back, really, but I don't think he'd regularly start, was, is it Sam Holding? Stuart Holding? Sam Holding?
Rob Holding.
Rob Holding, that's the one. I thought he looked really, really good last season when he came into the team.
He's really good.
One you bought from lower league, wasn't he? And he was an absolute bargain by the looks of it.
Bolton, $2.5 million.
Yeah, he looked excellent at times last season, I thought, when he came in. Really good. So he's the kind of player that in a Europa League run, if you didn't take it super seriously, he'd probably play, wouldn't he, in every round, I imagine.
I think if we have 3 centre backs at the back, then he has a
chance of playing
for the first team.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway,
that's what I was saying.
So if he was going to play in the Europa League, if we were going to play the Europa League seriously, then yeah, he'd probably play.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Otherwise, we'll play like Mertesacker, Gabriel, and probably I don't know some other player like Chambers.
You've got a lot of centre backs, actually, haven't you? You've got a lot.
We have way too many.
Yeah, I've never even thought about it. Never even thought about that. But leading on from that, then, how do you think you're going to get on next season? It was basically the other question I was going for. How do you think you're going to get on? Well,
Heart says 3rd, head says 5th or 6th.
5th or 6th, really? Because I think if you don't if there's a trend that's been shown over the last few years, I think it's that the team that's not in Europe tends to have a big advantage in the league. Like you look at when we won the league.
True, but we are still in Europe.
Yeah, but like if you don't take it seriously, that's what I was saying. If Wenger kind of says to himself, right, we're going to push Europa League to one side, play the kids in that, and just completely focus everything on the league. Every week you'll have a week's rest, pretty much, unless like the FA Cups or any of that. And I think, like when we won the league, Liverpool pushed us incredibly close when they didn't have Europe. You look at Chelsea last season; they had no Europe. Leicester, I think not having Europe was a massive deal for them when they won it. I mean, obviously that was like a ridiculous season anyway, to nothing, but not having Europe was definitely an advantage. With you bringing Lacazette in, and I think if you strengthen in a couple more areas, because you're not a bad team anyway, are you, obviously? So I think if you literally massively focused on the Premier League, I don't see why you couldn't challenge for it. I really don't.
It all depends on how we set ourselves up defensively. If we do what I say and go on a counter-attack, then we have enough fast players and enough great players at passing to supply our front players like Lacazette and our wingers, whoever they may be, to score goals. It all depends on our defensive outlook. If we play the way that we can play on a good day and do it regularly and actually marshal the defence, then yes, we have a chance. Otherwise, if we do what we usually do and then expect to win, pass the ball in front of your penalty area and just get caught on the break repeatedly, then we're going to be in 5th because Tottenham may not have strengthened, but they do have a couple of good players. Oh God,
they do, but they've got Europe, haven't they? So it's a different kettle of fish. They've got Champions League this year, which is massive.
But look at Everton. Everton have come into the fore. West Ham have bought Chicharito and Arnautovic, and there's so many players now. There's so many good teams now that it's very hard to pick one that will miss out.
I do agree with that. Do you think if you kept Sanchez, would that make much of a difference?
If we keep Sanchez, then we're going to get Champions League if we keep Sanchez.
Yeah, because I think if you keep Sanchez, your attack could be ridiculous because you could have Özil behind, Sanchez up top with Lacazette. I mean, just those 3 there are enough to win a lot of matches. Like Özil behind, Sanchez, Lacazette. You'd imagine there's enough there, as long as you can defend, like you were saying, just to win most matches. What you're saying is right. Everyone's raving up about Everton, but they bought in a lot of players that are unproven in the Premier League, so that's still they've still got to prove something, in my opinion. In their qualification game in the Europa League, I think it was, they were not convincing. They looked absolutely bang average, so they've still got a lot of proving to do. But we'll end this off now with a few questions, the little quick fire ones. We spoke just about where you think Arsenal are going to finish. What's your top 4 prediction then? Are you going to put yourself in there?
Okay, if I'm going to go with us playing counter-attack like I say, then it's going to be Man City,
Oh, it's
Man
a diplomatic
United,
answer. Thank you. Yeah.
Chelsea, Arsenal.
Yeah, I've been saying 4 of these as well, obviously. There's only a week to go now, but one signing can change all of this, obviously. Like, if Arsenal went out and signed bloody Messi, you think you put Arsenal further up, obviously that's not happening. Well, you know what I mean.
If Chelsea can actually keep Diego Costa and keep him in the fold and
he's
somehow reconcile...
request, doesn't he, I think? Like, he's rumoured to be trying to hand in a transfer request. I don't know why. I don't know why he wants to go so badly, but...
I think it's because he
realises
been
very poorly handled.
Yeah.
If
Batshuayi is on form and Morata actually finds his shooting boots, or goes to Madrid and picks him up.
Yeah.
Lukaku, Man United have been bought in the... they've basically been bought in the Mourinho way, which is basically throw your checkbook at it and see what sticks. So he will play defensive. He's got his team now. He's got a Carrick replacement.
I do think touching upon Mourinho very, very briefly here, because we've spoken about United in one of these before, but I do think that the way they play, it's like you said, that it's try not to concede first priority, then score second priority, and they've got so many talented goal scorers on the pitch now that you'd think they'll do well. I mean, they did last season, but we'll have to wait and see. But again, prediction, bottom 3 to go down next season. And everyone has said almost the same here, so this will be interesting. Everyone has said almost the same.
Shit.
On the spot much.
Huddersfield.
Everyone said Huddersfield, and there's a subscriber I've got that's a Huddersfield fan, and every single video of these he comments like, why does everybody hate Huddersfield so much?
I'm sorry, dude. It's just gonna happen. I don't mean anything by it. I just know that it's gonna happen.
It's an easy, as Niran said last week, it's just an easy shout, isn't it? Because they've just come up, and I don't think they've bought anyone incredible as of yet, so it is an easy shout.
I mean, Newcastle just came up, and I don't expect Newcastle to go down.
Everyone said the same. Yeah, it's just a reputation, isn't it? It's Huddersfield in the Premier. It just doesn't sound right almost. It was Newcastle, Huddersfield, and Brighton.
Oh God, Brighton.
Yeah, everyone has said Brighton. Huddersfield and Brighton. Yeah, everybody said that.
And probably for the last one. No, I think West Brom might be circling the drain sometime soon.
Oh, I don't think that's... I say everyone said the same. Everybody said Brighton and Huddersfield, and then it's been a mixture between Swansea, and I think someone might have said West Brom as well. Someone earlier might have said West Brom, but Tony Pulis knows how to keep a team up, I will say that much, so...
He knows how to keep a team up, but no one knows how to keep Tony Pulis happy for too long.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. They seem to have ambitions letting go, and then it's, I agree with that. Next question, top goal scorer, Premier League next year. Surely you've got to go with it. I know you don't want to say Kane.
Going for the lacquer.
Oh, you're the only one that's not said Kane. Everybody else has said Harry Kane. You've gone against the grain there. I don't blame you being an Arsenal fan. You can't say that, obviously, for political reasons.
Sarah Jessica Parker can fuck off.
Yeah. If Lacazette gets top scorer, you'll be up there, though, I think, if he does find his feet straight away. I think he will find his feet. The other question I've been asking is World Cup, which we've already spoken about. And, yeah, I think that's just about going to wrap everything up. Is there anything you want to touch upon briefly before we finish off about Arsenal, City, anything at all?
Oh God!
Anything
if you guys could just have an off game when we play you, that'd be great.
We struggle against you. I think I hate playing at the Emirates. We've got a very hit and miss record there. I really think we have. Like most teams, get the words out right here. We dominate possession against most teams, which is where we're comfortable. Whereas against you, you keep the ball really well, obviously. So I think we naturally struggle against that because we're not used to it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think we traditionally do struggle against you.
Well, we used to be a really good possession team, and now we're a counter-attacking team that plays possession.
Yeah, which doesn't work. Yeah. That's not a thing, is it? You can't counter and have possession. It just doesn't work.
It's just something for another day because I could talk for hours.
yeah. But yeah, if that's everything, are we going to wrap this up? I think we are.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, in fact, we definitely are, because I've been going for nearly an hour once again. But
crap.
Thank you very much for coming on. Massively appreciated. Of course, links to KB's channel will be down in the description below. I don't know if I mentioned that at the start, but of course they will. And yeah, that's going in tough. So thank you very much for coming on, KB. Really appreciate it as always. And yeah, until next time, lads, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Nidge out.